Welcome back, students. It's been far too long. This week's lesson will focus on the neckbeards of old. Join me on a journey through history as we explore the magnificent men of Neckbeard's past. Nero was emperor of the Roman Empire from 54 to 68 AD. An early pioneer of neckbeardom, Nero's legacy as a good boy can still be felt today. Not only did he sport one of history's most stunning literal neckbeards, he also embraced the associated ideology wholeheartedly. Like any successful leader, Nero's rise to power and early reign was dominated by his mommy. It is likely that she played a large part in the death of the previous emperor in order to pave Nero's way to rulership. According to contemporary Roman historian Publius Tacitus, Nero would absolutely have helped his mother with this had he not been busy waiting for anime to be invented. Nero's mother also did much of his job for him behind the scenes. This is understandable because precious boys such as him need rest. About 5 years into his reign, Nero and his mother got into a fight because she did not like the fact that he was cheating on his wife. In a fit of very manly and grown-up rage, Nero got mad at his mommy and had her killed. Thus began his decline. He eventually was rebelled against and fled Rome. After finding no one to take him in, he returned home. Upon hearing that a group of guards were approaching to kill him, he bravely asked one of his companions to commit suicide first to give him the courage to do so himself. Unable to find the strength to end it all, Nero eventually forced his private secretary to kill him. When the guards arrived, it was found out that they wished to work out a deal with him in order to sustain the Julio-Claudian dynasty. It was too little too late, however, and the great dynasty ended on a manly whimper. Henry VIII was the King of England from 1509 to 1547. Henry is an interesting case, as it would seem as though his beardiness increased as he aged. Ironically enough, he was considered quite handsome and charismatic in his younger years. He loved women, and had several affairs whilst married to his first wife, Catherine. As every good gentle sir knows, women basically only exist to be used as baby machines, so that one may pass on his enlightened genes to the next generation. Unfortunately for Catherine, she failed at this simple task. Henry quickly set about finding a way to dispose of this thought. He asked the church for an annulment, and they said no. Thankfully, Henry was euphoric because he was enlightened by his own intelligence, and not because of any phony god's blessing. He started his own church and made himself supreme leader of it. He then kicked the thought out and moved in a new wife, Anne Boleyn. Anne was well-educated, independent, vivacious, and opinionated. She was not one to be quiet and subservient. These are obviously all disgusting qualities for any female to have, so Henry became agitated. The final straw came when Anne had a miscarriage after hearing that her husband had an accident. This was obviously done on purpose to deny Henry an heir. The gentlemanly king quickly accused her of adultery, witchcraft, and conspiracy, and had her executed. Henry was conveniently engaged to a new wife, Jane Seymour, the day after Anne's execution. She was soon with child and gave birth to a boy. Unfortunately, she died due to complications, which was very selfish of her. Henry wasted no time in having his court find him a new potential wife. A new woman, Anne of Cleves, was suggested. Instead of meeting her in person, Henry dispatched an artist to paint a portrait of Anne and bring it back to see if she was a pretty enough milady. Interestingly enough, it was recently discovered that Henry returned the favor and sent Anne a portrait of himself. Here is the restored work in all of its glory. It was not long after the new marriage that Henry, in his infinite gentlemanliness, unfortunately discovered that he had once again been duped into marrying another thought. It is said that she wouldn't even heat up his tendies for him. The Venetian ambassador to Henry VIII, Sebastian Justinian, wrote in his memoirs that Henry described Anne as, quote, kind of a bitch that was only interested in French chads. Henry sought an annulment from Anne of Cleves, using the very manly argument that the marriage had not been consummated. She did not argue, and confirmed that Henry had been too busy raiding on WoW to deal with such disgusting corporeal matters. The wise king then married Catherine Howard, who ended up cheating on him. He ended up blaming his council and having several people beheaded, including Catherine herself. On his never-ending quest to find a loyal waifu, Henry married his final wife, Catherine Parr, in 1543. By this point, Henry, like any good gentleman, had entirely given up such trivial pursuits as diet and exercise. He became so obese that he had to be helped around by various contraptions. This was topped off with various festering wounds and gout. Henry died at the healthy and ripe old age of 55, which historians guess was due to the aforementioned ailments. We know the truth, however, which was that his heart finally gave out from respecting so many women. Those of you that have seen my previous videos should recognize this epitome of the human form. His name is Gerard Andreas Bicker. I've had the pleasure of seeing this magnificent portrait in person at the Rijksmuseum. In fact, said encounter was what inspired me to create this channel in the first place. Like any self-made gentleman, Gerard came from a very old and powerful family in the city of Amsterdam. His father, Gerrit Peters Bicker, was Burgermeister and Councillor of Amsterdam, as well as a founding member of the Dutch East India Company. A successful man, to be sure. And did Gerard follow in his father's footsteps? The official plaque under his portrait states that Gerard was not awarded as many key administrative positions in Amsterdam as his father was. Indeed. I do feel quite sorry for him, though, because according to historical accounts, Gerard held the door open for hundreds of miladies throughout his lifetime, and none of them awarded him with sex. I'd also like to point out that portraits were commissioned to portray their subjects in a flattering light. So what you are looking at here is the flattering version of Gerard. Food for thought.